Dandelions. Taraxacum officinale. That's the Latin name, apparently. And you can see they're in bloom. This is mid-May. And I'm across the way at a local park. People are playing softball and practicing soccer and doing their thing. So bear with the background noise a little bit. But I wanted to just to show how prolific this is. You know, dandelions are in bloom and they're just out and about. And they're here. And dandelions are one of the most premier edibles that you could find. And what's frustrating about it, from my point of view, is that they're considered a weed. And I guess my feeling on that is a weed is any plant that has evolved to not be able to grow in rows like cultivated plants. And it's so prolific. I mean, they're just everywhere. My understanding is that they are from Eurasia. I mean, millions of years ago, and human beings have been using them as a foodstuff or food source, as medicine for just about as long. And yet, in our modern day society, there's a whole industry on eradicating these plants. And right now, apparently, the bees are suffering, and the dandelion is a major source for nectar and pollen for the pollinators like bees and whatnot. So, I don't know. I've had dandelions. I like to eat them. They're really good. The flower head, first of all. You can dip the flower. You can pick the flower up. You can dip it into a batter that you make of your own. I like to use the Shore Lunch batter from the store, personally. And you dip them in a wet batter and you fry them, and they're really good. I mean, they have a unique taste of their own, but they're not unpalatable. The leaves themselves, which is where they get their name from. Dente-de-lion. Excuse my French, if you will. The leaves, the teeth on the leaves is where it gets its name. Dandelion, the tooth of the lion, the teeth of the lion, and that's how you can identify it. There are a few lookalikes, and it's from what I know, sow thistle being one of them. The lookalikes are edible. Just different parts are edible. But we're going to focus on dandelion right now. And here is a bud. The buds, oh my gosh. This is a bud here. You can eat the bud. The bud is really tasty. You just kind of boil up the bud. And it's just really tasty. Now, raw by itself, it's kind of bitter. I'll give you that. I mean, dandelion can be bitter, even once you cook it, like as a pot herb, and you add maybe some onions and maybe the protein of your choice. If you're a meat eater, then you're going to probably add some bacon or some smoked meat of some sort. But it can be a little bit bitter. Just eating it raw, the stem itself gives this white milky sap, which is latex, actually. And my understanding is that whoever they are looking into this as a source of latex. But from a medicinal standpoint, and there's just tons. I mean, this plant is just off the charts with medicinal qualities. And uses. It's got A and C, vitamins A and vitamin C and K and potassium, and it's off the charts. A lot of it, compared to a lot of your cultivated and store-bought vegetables. So dandelions are something to definitely look into. Again, as I'm just kind of going off the top of my head, the flower heads are edible. You dip them in batter and you make some flour fritters. Making wine and cookies and other types of dishes, what you want to do is, I'm going to pick this one here just to show, is this the green part. If I can get this in focus for you. The green part, you want to pick that off. That's the bitter part. And so that you just have the yellow flower petals in most of your recipes. And that's what you're going to use in most of your recipes. They call for dandelion flowers. For making as a fried fritter, I actually like to pick it just like this and use it this way as a handle, and then you can dip it in your batter and fry it up, and then go ahead and eat it that way. It's really tasty that way. The greens themselves, right now this is kind of a low-lying field, but here's some of the greens, and some of the plants. The greens themselves, the young greens, are really, really good. You pick these. Again, there's a bud in that one. You pick these and you add them to you can make a pesto out of them, and the pesto base is going to be Parmesan, olive oil, fresh dandelion greens. That's fresh Parmesan cheese, olive oil, dandelion greens, maybe a little salt and pepper to taste, a little bit of minced garlic, and you just blend that all up in a food processor, and you've got a pesto for pasta, you've got a pesto for a base for pizzas, toasted bread, whatever you can think of, and that's just from the leaf itself. The root, most people that are out there weeding, I brought a trowel with me, and I'm going to see if I can dig up one of these roots so you can see the root. The root makes a good coffee substitute. And the way that you cook the root is that you clean it off real thoroughly, you scrub it with a good root scrubber, and then you what I like to do is I roast it in the oven under 250 degrees for about an hour or so, and then get a coffee grinder and pretty much grind up the root, and then put it in a tea bag or put it in a coffee strainer, and it's really, really good. It's surprisingly good. And it's one of these plants, very similar to cattail, that it's a wonder why it's not cultivated commercially. I mean it is. You can go to your health food stores, you can go to your co-ops and whatnot, and you can find dandelion leaves, and they get long. They get 18, 20 inches long. It's huge. Big plants, big leaves for cooking, but as a regular staple, as abundant as it is, I'm just aghast. I'm just surprised why people are walking around here hungry with no food to eat or malnutrition, because the nutrition value is so off the chart. What I want to do quickly is I'm going to try to dig up one of these plants so you can see the root. So bear with me.